Khyber Fort is located near the city of Khayber in Saudi Arabia and is just a 2-hour drive away from Medina. The fort is famous for the historical Battle of Khyber that took place here in 629 AD. The Khyber Fort has a significant place in Islamic history as it is where the Jews barricaded themselves during the famous Battle of Khyber. Muslims marched on the fort and were able to force a surrender from the Jews, which marked the end of the famous battle. The fort is located on a hill and is surrounded by palm trees. The ruins of the fort are a mixture of black stone, basalt, and mud. However, you can tell how majestic this fort would have been in its heyday from the remnants. It consisted of 8, or 10, popular and very strong forts where the Jews lived and also gave refuge to the enemies of Islam. In the 7th Hijra, our Holy Prophet Muhammad got information about the conspiracy being hatched by the Jews against Muslims in connivance with other hostile elements of Islam. Khyber was divided into 3 districts: Natar, Shak, and Qatabar, each of which contained several villages and citadels, often perched on the high ground overlooking the extensive date palm groves, cornfields, and other crops below one. The region's volcanic soil and moderate climate made it well suited for agriculture. In addition to cultivation, the residents were accomplished traders, metalworkers, and silk garment producers. These highly prized skills enabled Khyber to thrive and amass great wealth, especially in comparison to the other communities of the Hejaz. However, these assets proved to be a liability in the tumultuous political environment of 7th century Arabia. According to traditional Islamic sources, in 628, the Prophet Muhammad concluded a peace agreement with Mecca's Quraysh tribe at Hudaybiyah, thus giving him a free hand to consolidate power before the inevitable final assault on Mecca. With Medina's security assured by the treaty, the Prophet turned his attention to a prior dispute dating to 625 with the Banu Nadir, a Jewish tribe he had expelled from Medina. They had subsequently sought refuge with the northern co-religionists. 1,600 soldiers and 100 to 200 cavalry marched on Khyber under the Prophet's colors. Due to their rapid and strategic approach, Khyber was cut off from its allies. The inhabitants were unprepared for the attack. While several villages and fortifications fell fairly quickly after being besieged, these defeats bought enough time for a proper defense to be mounted at those places the Jews still held. At Qatabar, for example, some of the Jewish defenders arrayed themselves in the open before the Prophet's army, the imposing citadel of Qamus at their backs. The hubris of Khyber's leaders, who had thought their fortifications were impregnable, and Ali's battlefield heroics contributed to a decisive defeat for the Jewish resistance. Qamus surrendered, as did the last holdouts not long thereafter. The terms of surrender allowed the Jews the option to flee without their property, or to stay and retain at least their land, provided that half of its yearly yield was paid in taxes. The latter became known in Sharia law as jizya, the special tax, though, usually at a lower rate, thereafter required of all non-Muslims in Islamic countries. Jews continued to live in Khyber even after formal expulsion in 642, but it never regained its former splendor. Khyber's refugees are said to have settled primarily in Kufa, in Iraq, Jericho, and in the case of the Mahamara clan, Tiberias. The ruins of Khyber are preserved as an antiquities site by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. While barbed wire prevents access to the heights, the cemetery and other low-lying areas are accessible. 10 facts about the Battle of Khyber. 1. Jews had established a great settlement at about 100 miles from Medina. This Jewish settlement was named as Khyber as the Jews had built about 6-7 forts. Different groups of Jews had occupied each fort. The Khyber was a significant market as it was an oasis blessed with dates. 2. As the Battle of Khyber took place after the Battle of the Trench, Khandaq, there are some points to be made clear. Jewish tribes had offered help in the Battle of Trench, and after Muslims were able to emerge victorious in the Battle of the Trench. The Jews belonging to the Jewish tribes named Banu Qanuqa and Banu Nadhir had no option left but to seek refuge in Khyber. The Jews wanted to take revenge from Muslims by invading into Medina. They were planning an alliance with the Quraysh, but the Quraysh had entered the Treaty of Hudaybiyah with the Muslims. The Treaty of Hudaybiyah forbids the Quraysh from forming an alliance with Jews to attack the city of Medina. After the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, the Muslims under the commandment of Holy Prophet started preparing to hold a battle against the Jews. The Muslim army approached Khayber for an attack at the beginning of Muharram in 7th Hijri. When the Jews saw that the Muslims' army had appeared, they were shocked. The Prophet PBUH asked the Jews to surrender, but they were very proud of their mighty forts and said that Muslims shall prepare themselves for losing the battle. The Jews locked themselves inside the forts. The Muslims attacked the forts one by one. The first fort on which the battle was fought was the Fort Naim. The Muslims were able to capture the fort under the leadership of Muhammad bin Muslima, who died during the fierce battle. Later on, Muslims were able to take over other small forts, yet one of the greatest challenges for Muslims was to capture the Fort Qamus. Qamus was one of the most important forts. The Holy Prophet PBUH sent Muslim army under the commandment of Hazrat Abu Bakr towards the Fort Qamus. The Muslim army was unable to conquer the fort, and the fort became a great challenge for Muslims. For 21 days Muslims fought hard to capture the fort. Every day the Muslims would charge the fort with different technique under the commandment of a different person. The next day, the Holy Prophet announced that the fort would be conquered in the morning, as commandment would be given to the person who is beloved of Allah and the Holy Prophet. This not only made Muslims happier that finally they would be able to take charge of the fort, but also made him curious about the person who would be given commandment the next day. 7 in the morning the Muslim army got ready for the battle and was anxiously waiting to hear the name of the beloved commander. The Holy Prophet PBUH announced the name of Hazrat Ali as the commander. The Holy Prophet approached Hazrat Ali and put the armor on him. The Holy Prophet put the armor on Ali with his own hands. The Holy Prophet prayed for the Muslim force. He prayed for their victory and then ordered him to attack the fort in the name of Allah. When the Muslims approached the Fort Qamus, one of the most reputed warriors of Jews named Marhab came out. He challenged Ali for a fight, and Marhab was sure that he would win, as he was considered a warrior equivalent to 1,000 warriors. He sang a battle song declaring that he is a lion whom none can face. Ali accepted the challenge, saying that he is Lion of Allah and that he fights in the name of Allah. As soon as the fight started, Marhab was killed by Ali in a few moments. Ali was blessed with great powers that day. Seeing the loss of a great warrior, another powerful Jewish warrior came out to fight against Hazrat Ali. Rabi bin Abu Akik came out to kill his prey but missed it. However, Ali didn't miss his prey and killed Rabi with a single stroke of his sword. Soon, another Jewish warrior, Yazir, was put to death by Hazrat Ali. This made Jews fearful, and within no time their 3 great warriors had been knocked out. They started to hide inside the fort, yet Ali skillfully attacked the gate before it was closed. The gate was uprooted by Hazrat Ali and allowed Muslim army to enter the fort. Muslims were able to kill a number of Jews who resisted them. When Jews saw that they held no chance against the Muslims, they surrendered. The fort, which was considered unconquerable, was now conquered by the Muslims. Hazrat Ali went towards the Muslim camp as a successful commander. He greeted the Holy Prophet and delighted him with the news of victory, and the camp rejoiced with the victory. The Jewish law stated that in such a case, all male Jews could be killed. Yet the Jews asked for a favor and offered that they would give half the produce of their land to Muslims. The Muslims agreed, and Jews remained under the dominance of Muslims.